Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host. Let's get into this. So, hi guys. I hope all is well. No periodic table or alien talk this evening. However, we have an extension of a download. So I want to say this is like a part 2 to yesterday, because I really was like, God, what? Why do you have me talking about the firmament without doing proper research like I usually do? Why is this such an emergency reading? And like all these other different questions were like swarming in my head, right? So the first thing the creator showed me was the ocean. Alright, now remember, we looked up the firmament, what it means, how waters are being split into two, above and below, how the firmament is this round, hard form of protection, if you will. And if you recall, if you've been following, then you may be aware of the conversation. A few weeks back, we had a segment where we had discussed the Earth being the planet of reflection, right? And I just got reminded of that a few hours ago. Not even a few hours ago, like not long ago, how we had this conversation about the reflection, about when we come here, this planet is filled with water, we're water, the Earth is like one big mirror, and we come here to reflect on our souls. It was just a real big spiel, right? And the creator had reminded me of that segment that we did. And then he told me to imagine what happens when you throw a rock in a pond, right? We get like that ripple effect. And right now what's happening is, because there are so many attempts on the firmament, it's causing like a ripple effect in the dimension. And he said that the oceans are being greatly affected. Outside of ourselves, the oceans are being affected. And when he said that, I just was like, wait, what? So I guess this would kind of be like a part 2 to yesterday's segment, but more just kind of like a further explanation, because again, I have no idea why that would be a topic. The creator rarely gives me a topic without having me do research, and let alone it being like a subject that is considered an emergency. And then I got the news of the bridge collapsing today, which is crazy, right? Because this is water again. So I believe what the creator was showing me was there's about to be a lot of movement, and a lot of it is going to be evolving water. There's going to be a lot of mishaps. And a lot of people who are spiritual in nature, we tend to follow conspiracy theories. I think before we come into our full enlightenment, we decide to follow conspiracies. And I think this kind of opened up my spiritual eye. And I never really had like a notion on, what's what belongs where. Like, I don't really get into people having places, and this is your place, you belong here, you belong there. I've never been into that, right? I've always been into just understanding that I'm connected to something outside of myself. So I think the people who follow conspiracy theories, they know exactly where I'm going with this. A lot of this is related to the frequencies that are already out there. So these conspiracy theories, these mishaps, these really catastrophic events, these current events are connected to the manipulation of the ethers. And the manipulation of the ethers is everything under the firmament. And then yesterday, after I finished the segment, I heard the creator say, there's worldly things and then there's heavenly things. And I think that's the distinction. Everything that goes on inside of the firmament is God's business, but it's of the world, right? Once you go outside of this firmament, you're in God's domain for real, right? Like, we know that the devil or Shaitan, the enemy, these demons, the darkness, whatever, was given dominion, right, over this dimension. So when you put that into perspective and you start thinking about the different analogies that can be put into place to explain exactly what's going on here, then it will start to make more sense if you really sit back and think about what we're connected to inside of the firmament. It's complete darkness. It's of a lower vibration, and we have to connect to things outside of the firmament, in order to start elevating, because that is where the elevation is. And I should know this because, like, I'm doing the topic, but I just feel like some of this stuff you can just Google, like, is the moon and the sun inside of the firmament? And I think the answer is yes. And if it is, I think this was just the creator's, like, prime point. Like, you guys are paying attention to the wrong stuff. All of this stuff is of the world. All of it is connected to darkness. All of it is in sync with the abyss. Try connecting with what's outside of the firmament. And I think the more people make attempts to penetrate this firmament, the more people attempt to learn about the firmament, the more we put ourselves in place to be in alignment with what's outside of the firmament. I think that's where the real awakening is. And again, like I always say, I don't have all the answers. I literally take whatever the creator is giving me. And I'm not the most obedient child of God, right? Like, I'm not here constantly trying to place myself in a space of knowing it all or being so aware and, I have all these solutions to all the problems. Like, no, not even. Not by a long shot. All right? My point here is we all have this connection to what's underneath the firmament. But I think when you start speaking in terms of what's outside of the firmament, there's different levels to ascension, right? You have to make your way up to the firmament. And then, if approved, the creator will give you access to what's going on behind that veil. And these are different conversations that I'm having all at once. But I think the whole gist of this conversation is to be fully aware of the things that are affecting us. And we've had multiple conversations about, the unseen and not being aware and being aware and just how everything ties together. We've had multiple conversations, right? I think here, our understanding of everything we know is behind the firmament. I don't think anything we understand is outside of that, because we can't escape it. We can't go outside of it. So even when we're talking about space even when we're talking about all of these different, areas and levels of, whatever, it's inside of the firmament. And I think that's God's way of saying, like, he's limiting us where we are geographically, where we are spiritually, where we are mentally, emotionally, financially. He's in control of all of it. And people are going to make attempts to overstep the boundaries and the responsibilities that the Creator has given them. But we all have a place in all of this. We always talk about that, right? It's our ranking. And I think that is where all this spirituality comes from. Outside of the firmament, right? So us being able to connect with the Creator, us being able to transcend to new heights and tapping in with our ancestors and becoming more acquainted with the higher versions of ourselves. All of that is outside of the firmament. And nothing in this waking life, nothing in this life that we're currently experiencing is connected to outside of the firmament. When we dream, we go outside of that. And that is maybe the closest we'll get to traveling outside of the firmament. I don't think we have a full understanding. And I think that was the Creator's entire point with bringing the firmament to my attention. Just basically saying, hey, I set these parameters in place for a reason. I have given you authority over this realm, meaning man, meaning our level of intelligence doesn't exceed outside of the firmament. So I think I would have to agree with the different people from multiple, backgrounds of study that space is underwater. It would have to be, especially if we're speaking in terms of a circle, right? You can get to the bottom by going through the top if you're floating and moving around. But to have a full on understanding, no human has that. I don't care what type of resources they have access to. I don't care how intelligent they are. Everything we understand can grasp the concept of is under the firmament. Nothing we're dealing with spiritually is outside of the firmament except for our dreams. So even when we speak of certain spirits being earthbound, right? These are entities, energies, spirits, angels that are trapped inside of the firmament. Everything else that we can communicate with, that's why it's considered to be of another world or to be intergalactic, or we have tons of names, right? But I think the overall gist is to really understand that we are set in a particular space. No pun intended. We are deliberately placed in a specific position by the Creator for us to know that He exists, because who else created this? I mean, humans, we haven't created an earth. We haven't created the firmament. We don't know what's outside of it. No one's left it. So even when people are saying that they're going to space, they're not going outside of this shell that's protecting us. And the attempts to shatter it and go outside of it is gravely disturbing the vibration, because again, it's like banging on a wall inside of a pool. The vibrations cause a ripple effect all over. Okay? But I'm going to end it here. I do love y'all. I hope y'all have been getting along well with y'all week. Hope y'all are enjoying y'all's Ramadan. I hope y'all have been drinking your water, eating your fruit and vegetables, and sipping on your own tea, because it's most definitely free. All right, love y'all.